Hi, everyone. It's my absolute joy to connect with Nancy Rebecca again. I know many of you will be really delighted because Nancy and I had two conversations. You might remember last late October, November, when Nancy was talking about the three surges of blue
Mm.
light. Nancy is an incredible intuitive spiritual expert, helps people with their develop their intuition, and I'll put her website below the video. But yes, you talked extensively about these three surges of blue light and how they were really helping humanity to evolve and upgrade. So today, Nancy is going to have another update on the upgrade, as it were, in terms of what's happening out there and with the light, and perhaps connected to the earth as well. So we are all ears, and I'll be putting it in an astrological context as and when it seems appropriate as Nancy goes through. So welcome back, Nancy. Delighted to be with you again.
Thank you, Pam. Yeah, it's felt far too long. So I've really enjoyed everything that you're putting out there. I mean, you're really leading the way astrologically about some new things, and I'm loving it. So thank you for welcoming me back again. So I just to give an upgrade about the an update about the blue light. So it kind of went a little crazy around the end of the year, beginning of the new year. And yeah, those three surges that came through, so many people could feel it. Even people who have no idea, they were just seeing blue everywhere. And that continues to happen. But what has happened since then? I've had a lot of people write, and it's like, where's the blue light? What's happening to the blue light now? And so, what has been happening to the blue light is that when those surges came through, it really supercharged the earth. And so, the earth is really, really glowing blue. Right underneath the surface, there's this pulsation that's happening of blue. It is not leaving us. I can't even say it's not leaving us anytime soon. My sense is it's really here to stay. Um, Remember the blue light, like the Syrian beings. So there's a lot of star beings that are related to this blue frequency. So they will often say, it's not Syrian energy, it's an energy of blue we like to work with. And so they said, just like with Jesus and the Christ force, they gave this as an example of this really golden, beautiful golden light. They said, that didn't just start when Jesus came to the earth, that Jesus loved working with the Christ light. And so it's a frequency. So the Syrians are always good to remind me that it's not the star beings, but it's the actual frequency. And so this blue light frequency, just to remind everyone, if I could put it in a nutshell, it helps dissolve and release illusions. So all the illusions in the world, illusions within you, and it enhances the truth of who you are, and it enhances the truth of what's going on the planet,
Wow.
which is crazy, isn't it? Like some of the things that have been revealed
It's
is
perfect,
shocking.
actually. Astrologically, it's absolutely perfect because there's a lot of truth and a lot more to come. It's going to get very
A
lively.
lot more to come. But I will say there's this sense of where, as humanity would have been shocked a little bit, last year, they would have been shocked, or the past few years. Now it's almost laughable. It's like those Keystone cops where you watch them running around and slapping each other, and you just can't even take it seriously anymore because you realize that you've expanded in consciousness and they're still running around like they're in power, like they've got all this power, and we're just like, you're not getting it. So I'm really noticing that that's happening. But I did start making some videos. It's called the blue light hotspots. Those are coming out. So I talked about it as the sun, where if you're looking at the sun, the little video, you'll see the surges, the solar surges. Well, here on Earth, it's the same. It looks just like that, but we're having blue light surges. So they're laying it out almost like breadcrumbs, where they're saying, okay, we want you to talk about this area first. Like when they asked me, there's a big blue light surge in Algeria. It was just like, okay, I don't know anything about Algeria. So they come through and they share with me what what needs to be shared at that global level, which was an enormous, it was the male energy of the dragon, the female energy of the mermaid, which are two powerful symbolic totems that are a part of a very large river that was dammed back in the 1940s or 50s, and that dam is starting to break. And so they were saying it was the reunion, and they were great lovers, the dragon, and the mermaid, and that dam was breaking, they were coming together. So it's been a really fun adventure. I think I always wanted to be an archaeologist, really.
Yeah. And that's so interesting, isn't it? That astrologically, in Chinese astrology, and I don't know, I know very little about it. It operates on the Jupiter cycle. It's the year of the wood dragon, and that is that the dragon energy is about leadership and strength and self-sufficiency. And it's also very interesting that the mermaid energy is related to Salacia. Salacia is mermaid. She was the wife of Neptune in myth. So it's so interesting that these are coming together at this point, because yeah, in fact, at the Aries equinox, the sun is conjunct Salacia. So
Wow.
yes,
Wow.
interesting.
Yeah. Wow. Well, and they took me like to Saudi Arabia where it was this male wisdom that, oh, absolutely goes far beyond anything I've ever experienced before. And they gave the example of like the three wise men, but there was just this depth of male wisdom that's coming to the surface with the blue there. So it's been a lot of fun to go through those areas, and I'm still learning more. And my next hotspot's coming out of Ireland, Scotland, and
Wow.
England.
Wow.
And if I could just give you a little tidbit, because it hasn't come out yet, that I was told that it was the original area of the underworld, that it was the safe place of the underworld there, that no humans were really allowed in there. But then in their kindness, they're like somebody comes and because it was the magic combined with the power that some of the leaders and the kingdoms wished for, befriended. So anyway, it's coming back again. So
Wow, that's amazing. So that's across Ireland, Scotland, and England.
yes.
And do you have exact locations within those three geographies, Nancy, that you can
Well,
speak about yet?
Well, not quite yet, but I did just focus on Ireland where they showed me this kind of bulging that's happening in Ireland, that's coming to the surface. And again, what's fascinating, Pam, is that in each of these countries, they asked me to go beyond the beyond. So if I wanted to talk about any of the kingdom, it's like, no, go further than that. If I wanted to talk about the Druids, nope, go deeper than that. If I wanted to talk about uh, anything, any of the sacred, the stone circles like Stonehenge, go deeper than that. And then that's when I hit, I'm not going to call it gold, I'll call it, that's when I hit blue. And that was like, this was the area, this whole area. And they said it was a much larger land mass, but it would have been the places where the elf kingdoms and the fairies and the giants and the dragons would have existed in this other frequency dimension,
Yeah.
and in their kindness, uh yeah, started inviting other people in who may have abused that, and so then they had to retreat to the underworld. But that was just information from yesterday. So
Wow.
I want to go back to January. So knocking on my door. So the Syrians, the very tall blue beings, wanted to offer a formal introduction to these white robed beings. Now, they did not come into the room with me. They were not present with me, but I could see the vision of them. I could see what they were introducing me to. And it was crazy. They said, look, we're not going to do anything about this now because the blue surges were so enormous to the psyche and the physical health and the, expansive consciousness that humanity needs some time to integrate. But there were so many people saying, what's next? What's next? What's next? So they are pacing it for us humans. Um, but what, so since then, they've been coming through. So what they have explained to me, they're all in white. To me, they look almost normal human size. They're not tall like the blue star beings that I've been listening to. They do have um, their skin is very kind of an amber, I would say, a golden amber. It definitely glows. The eyes are a very light brown or stunning blue, but they tend to have darker hair, but they can have also not blonde. It's not white hair, but somewhere between. And so it's pretty easy for me to communicate with them, which I find fascinating because the Syrians sounded more like whales and dolphins in the beginning, you know, and I wasn't, um, yeah, it's challenging, if you imagine trying to talk to a whale or a dolphin. But since we've gotten over that bridge, that's helpful. But these new star beings, so they just told me we're at the outer edges of the galaxy. We're really far away from you. Really. They're like, think as far as you can think and then go further. So they're very far away. So then they said that they're watching um, in the galaxy, it's their job to make sure that the entire universe remains in balance. And because they said that, I said, well, why are you interested in Earth? Why are you interested in just this one planet? And they said, because the consciousness is increasing so rapidly on our planet, but it's also about creativity. There's something that what I say, covet, uh, that they like, you all get to express and be flooded with creativity. And your nature is flooded, the trees, everything is flooded with creativity. There's all this variety of abundance of life. So, in a sense, they see Earth as bursting with this beautiful creativity to raise, to grow the universe.
Well,
So that,
I've heard this before, that the Earth is pivotal in raising the consciousness of the entire universe,
okay.
not just Earth itself, but for some reason it has this pivotal position, maybe because of the creativity. And just to ask, Nancy, I don't know if you have a sense of this, but when you talk about right on the edge of the far galaxy, is that linked to, do you think, to Sedna, which has an 11,400 year orbit, and to our knowledge, that is the dwarf planet with the longest orbit, which is very elliptical, so it literally goes right out to the edge of the Oort cloud and is coming back to its closest point to the Earth. It won't hit that till 2075, but I mean, we're not far off that if you're looking at an 11,400.
Yeah.
And what you were talking about last time, about this isn't just a transformation for humanity, it's a metamorphosis.
Yes.
Edna is the dwarf planet that is linked
Yeah.
to metamorphosis because,
Yes.
so do you have a
Yeah.
sense it could be linked to Sedna and these beings could be?
Absolutely. Because the knowledge that's coming in, it's almost unthinkable. So that would be a very human statement. It's very unthinkable. But fortunately, they're helping us, they're going to be helping us adjust and adapt so that we can embrace some of these concepts. And yes, in that, you said, what was the Oort cloud?
Oort, I think it's OORT, the Oort cloud,
Oort
and
cloud.
right at the edge of this sort of far galaxy, as it were. So Sedna,
Okay.
it doesn't have a circular orbit; it's elliptical.
Okay.
It's almost sort of rugby ball shape, but long and
Yes.
when it goes right up there. So what it does when it comes closer to Earth is bring back a lot of information from
Yes.
that far point.
Yes. Well, it's fascinating that you said that too, because the planet that they're showing me it's not like perfectly round. There is a sense that there's a little bit of an oblong shape because I remember when they were showing me, I thought, well, how do you spin? I guess I'm assuming that all stars and planets spin like the Earth does. Uh, I didn't get an answer for that. I think I was just thinking, that curiosity in my mind. But it's interesting that you talk about Sedna. And yes, yes, there's very high information that's coming through.
Wow.
Yep.
And that is trine to Pluto, which is the planet of transformation, all of this year and all of next. And as you're talking about this planet not being circular, the other planet that pops into my head, the other dwarf planet, is Haumea, that is going to be square to Pluto all this year and all next
Oh my goodness.
in 150-degree aspect, quincunx to Sedna all of this year and all of next year. And that is about,
Oh, I
that's
have
really,
goosebumps.
a really powerful symbol for New Earth because she's about regeneration. She can birth babies from all over her
Oh,
body and regenerate herself from an old crone to a young maiden. So she's incredibly fertile. And she can also go through this metamorphosis herself physically. So I wonder if that's part of the picture too, because the
yes, it's absolutely, absolutely. I, I always talk about from the book of Nancy. I when I say I can feel something in my bones when you're talking about it, that's when I know it feels true to me. But as you were talking, what I heard was exactly what you described. Humanity is going to be going through that. It's like that surge of creativity that we're entering into a time, humanity, where we're going to become highly productive, where it's like, wow, I haven't had any energy all my life. Where is this coming from? So highly productive, really want to see the earth uplifted, getting more involved in community aspects and tapping into the higher mind. That's really coming through quite strongly.
Yeah, that's Uranus, and Uranus is incredibly prominent this year because it also rules Aquarius. Pluto has just moved into Aquarius. That has a 248-year orbit, so it hasn't been there since 1798. But Uranus is very, very powerful, and that's all about higher mind, linking with the galactic beings as well.
Okay.
It's very kind of high vibe.
I love it.
Beautiful, isn't it? It's beautiful how
Yeah.
we share.
Yeah. Well, and the thing, like, often people are like, are we going to be able to handle this? Are we going to make it? What about our mental health? But they are always quick to remind us that there is a lot of assistance there, that we are having a lot of, and not just from the upper world. The underworld has really been showing itself, just like I described about Ireland, Scotland, and England, and really been showing itself to help us bring that into balance. But I just kind of want to go back a little bit because what surprised me when I was talking about in Saudi Arabia and that surge of, you just want to bathe in that incredible ancient wisdom. It just feels so good. And like, this is what the masculine divine feels like. But it's just in many ways heavily suppressed as the feminine divine. But the surge really started coming through. So I'm curious because it really started coming through in um, definitely around the end of January. And then February has just been really this massive buildup of masculine divine. And it's been described to me as holding the beautiful container of the feminine. It becomes a container for the feminine divine to be expressed. And so March 15th is, because there's so much balance, and there's going to be another big surge on the equinox. And then that's when this, and I'll talk about in a moment, this diamond like silvery energy is going to be coming in. But the earth must go through an enhanced acceleration of balance, male and female, within us.
Yeah, yeah, and Uranus is fast. Uranus is lickety split super speed.
Oh,
It's erratic. It's not a smooth linear energy. It's like jumps. It's like quantum jumps, and that is, as I say, incredibly prominent. And at the end of January, was actually on the 20th of January. That's when Pluto re-entered Aquarius and will stay there essentially for the next year.
Okay.
So it's a very, very significant energy and transit, another 20 years. So this is so exciting. And yeah, the Aries equinox feels incredibly powerful because
Yes.
it is beginning a very, very powerful astrological phase with the total solar eclipse on.
Insanely powerful.
Yeah, yeah, and all the rest in April. I think April is one of the peak months of 2024. So it'll be so
Yeah.
interesting to hear, Nancy, what you are seeing through
Yes.
April to.
Yeah. So for me, when I'm looking at the frequency on the earth, I will always begin with just kind of a line. There's just this line in my sight, my vision. And, I'll see, if it rises or falls. Sometimes it falls below the line, sometimes it falls above. So that kind of triggers my third eye, my clairvoyance to be able to say, okay, show me what's going on in this point. Show me what's going on. And then I get to April and it's like ka-chunk. It's like on April 8th, the solar eclipse, this spike, it was off the charts. So this is where I sit back and go, I won't say the words that I might say, but it's like, when I have that awareness of like, oh, oh, what are we going to do here?
It's
So,
massive. Yeah, it's the strongest eclipse of the year by a long way. Total solar eclipse falling across America, as you know, northeast to southwest.
yes.
Very powerful. Partly we'll see it from Western Europe as well, but it's an absolute humdinger, and it relates to something I think you're going to be sharing in this session as well.
Yes, it does. So, I went to do a little bit more of a deep dive, and that's where these robed beings came through again. And they're talking about this diamond light with silver sparkles, or it's kind of a blend of silver and diamonds. Very, 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 very high frequency that's coming in. And what they showed was I sat down in meditation, and anybody can do this. Always please ground really strongly first. Really ground strongly. But I said, let me experience what the world's going to experience on April 8th. I want to have this experience ahead of time. And immediately this diamond silver beam came right through the top of my head and stopped at the corpus callosum. So the corpus callosum is white matter. There isn't a lot, there isn't a lot of information that talks about the white matter. I didn't know much about it, but this light comes in, and the corpus callosum is the white that holds the right and left sides of the brain, and it helps it communicate. So what it showed me was it kept getting brighter, but there was a lot clearing out of my corpus callosum. And I will tell you, it felt really, really, really good. And when they shut it off, because they said that's enough for now, I'm like, oh, can we just do a little bit more?
Don't take the chocolate away yet.
That's right. That it felt really good. So one of the things they explained, they literally said Albert Einstein had an enormous, just to put it in perspective, an enormous corpus callosum, which means that if we think of our our left and right brain, most people know the word compartmentalizing. We're good at compartmentalizing just so we can cope with life. But his was so large that it's almost like he had access to all the rooms in the house at the same time. Where for the majority of humanity, it's like you can go through the door in the kitchen, but to get to the bathroom, you need to go through the other door and go up the stairs to the left. That's kind of how our human mind works. But his was quite expanded. So then they explained that when we're going through, and I'll say lightly and upset, but it can be traumatic too. What's happened in the last, 4 to 8 years, just with the pandemic alone, I don't need to go through the shopping list of the other things, but they said that can shrink the corpus callosum. That's where we make our mind smaller just so we can handle things. That's where we, try to stay within the, of the bowling alley or the gutter. We don't want a gutter ball, so we're making it really small. So then we have less access to our thought process. How does this look in the body? You're having trouble finding your words. You're having trouble stringing thoughts together. It's just kind of a shocky brain. So what's going to happen, what they're showing me on April 8th, which I'm like a kid on Christmas morning, is that that's going to come in and start expanding our white matter. So I was laughing as I was getting ready this morning. They're like, no, you're not going to have like aliens have the big head, but you could be, as we evolve, we could be heading in that direction. So then, all right, so we're still learning about that, but it's already starting to come through a little bit. But then the end of April, I was really curious about because then it's almost like they open the floodgates and then this enormous diamond, very awakening, conscious energy of wisdom and knowledge is just going to pour into the earth. And because our corpus callosum has been expanded a bit, we're going to be able to take in that wisdom and knowledge in a way we couldn't today or tomorrow. Does that sound crazy?
No, no, it sounds spot on, actually. It sounds absolutely spot on. So it's so, so interesting because this total solar eclipse on the 8th of April, and that's the date exactly you mentioned, Nancy, is in Aries. Aries rules the head.
Oh no. That's
and
awesome.
and you were also mentioning, certainly when we were chatting before, that this is going to be a very big healing for people.
Yes.
This total solar eclipse is within a minute, 1 minute of a degree conjunct Chiron. 1 minute. And Chiron is where we've been wounded, where we felt like a
Um,
victim consciousness, we could have been traumatized. And Chiron, if you're born with Chiron in Aries, and I've often mentioned this in videos because it's been in Aries a while now, is where in your early life you might have felt like, I don't have a right to exist. However, that is meant to turn into leadership for you as you move through your life. This is your issue to deal with as you move through your life. So it's so interesting that Chiron is exactly, within a minute of the total solar eclipse, the sun and moon together, which will heal that's any sense of victim consciousness, of I don't have a right to exist,
exactly.
step into our sovereignty.
Wow.
It's also fascinating that Chiron astronomically orbits between Saturn and Uranus. And Saturn is where we're tight, where we're narrow, where we're constricted, what has been. It's linked to fear, where we contract.
Yes.
It rules Capricorn, the powers that we've had in our world running the show. So there's this sense of limitation and contraction that's part of the mythology of Saturn. But Chiron orbits, as I say, between Saturn and Uranus is the planet of awakening. Uranus is the planet of expansion in that way. It's connecting to the galactics. It's this sudden burst to another level of consciousness which you've never had. And on the 20th of April, we have this Jupiter Uranus conjunction, which is just going to be boom. It's just going to be like an explosion of light, an awakening and higher consciousness, and a shattering of old belief systems,
Hmm.
potential to just jump us to a higher understanding, a higher state of being, lickety split. So what you're saying unknowingly is perfect for the astrology we're going through, because although that Jupiter Uranus conjunction it happens every 13 to 14 years, it is particularly strong because Uranus is the ruler of Aquarius and Pluto has moved into Aquarius, which intensifies that whole thing.
Wow.
Because
Wow.
astrology is multi-layered. And so it's a big deal. It's a really big deal, particularly because it's coming after that total solar eclipse in Aries.
Yes. Yes.
So am I making
Well,
sense there, Nancy?
you you're making so much sense because I wanted to, I could feel myself wanting to kind of soften what happens, what they were explaining that happens to corpus callosum. So they were talking about like PTSD, post-traumatic stress syndrome. They are like from whether it's from childhood or from war or from, being hurt or harmed. And they were talking about those hits to the corpus callosum. And so when you're talking about Chiron being the healer, that's what they were talking about. Like there's enormous healing that's taking place. I'm a nurse, so I was super excited, and I was an intensive care nurse. So I worked in, neurology and cardiology. But so immediately I went to go look it up, and they were talking about even in like early childhood that, you could be an infant, you could be a child if it's been a rough home environment, that the corpus callosum will, it can kind of minimize going on one side of the brain and send most of the energy to the other side of the brain. And I thought, wow, isn't that curious? So and I just want to say there's supposed to be certain foods and things like that that can help with that. And you can meditate on that. But they were saying it's enormous healing for so many people who've had so much trauma in their life. So I wasn't even going to bring that up. And
It's so clear in the astrology. It's very interesting, and also Uranus being so strong, as I say, it's in its less positive expression. It's very linked to mental illness, trauma, PDST, because
uh-huh.
linked to kind of because it's an erratic energy, it can be linked to instability, and it's linked to the
Yes.
mind. So there can be a mental instability as a result of the trauma, and it
Wow.
sounds like that's going to be healed too.
Yes. Yes. Well, and as a nurse, it's like often, I know people who struggle, and I've worked with, the military and teaching, meditation, and that trauma that they've experienced, and that just to get through each day requires a lot of energy. And so for me, with that nurse mind, I try to imagine, how is that possible? But again, that's the thinking mind of the human, right? And we are being um, encouraged in a unwavering way to expand our mind, right? To see all possibilities and I've been knowing this in medicine because I'm a nurse, that in medicine, we're going to be making leaps in what's going to happen in medicine, what was just not even possible even 5 years ago. So I'm excited about hearing what you had to say about that.
Yeah, and Jupiter being the planet of expansion is just going to make this like infinite possibilities for our mind. There are going to be so many new inventions, so much new medical technology, healing technology. I think
Yes.
a lot of that could come through the reconnection to our galactic families and all the information that comes from there as well. It
Yeah.
is incredibly exciting period. So I really encourage people to live in their Uranus, as it were, to live in the excitement rather
Yes.
than go into their Saturn, which is the fear and the contraction.
Yes. Yes. Because, and they explain it as the corpus callosum, like it gets dried out.
Right.
It's, it's almost like when I see someone's energy field's very dry, what that tells me is that they have neglected self-nourishment,
Right.
that they haven't watered the plant, in me getting a massage or, going out and watching a play or something. They haven't done any of that self-nourishing thing. So they were showing the corpus callosum quite similar. And part of that is, well, first of all, I'm just going to say they are super excited about what we're doing. They're like, we're so excited that the way they explain it, that express it, it's like, they're all kind of gathered around, and it's like the clock is ticking and they're not quite sure which way it's going to go. And then it started going. and they just cheered and celebrated because they were like, they made it. They made it this time, this time. And that's the other thing about the ancient civilizations, of really going through those cycles before. And now it looks like this time
Mm.
uh, we're going to make it. I am an optimist by nature, Pam,
Yeah,
but
me too. Relentless.
yes, but when I was hearing them, I was very excited about when they were talking about ancient civilizations. And that's when they said to me, there are more ancient civilizations that have tried this before Lemuria and before Atlantis. But they show it as like a beautiful garden and then just another layer of a beautiful garden. So each of these ancient high level civilizations really contributed a lot to the success that we may find this time.
Yeah, that's beautiful. And my sense is that we really are breaking a repeat cyclic pattern this time,
Yeah.
because we as humanity have been able to expand our consciousness sufficiently to access higher timelines, expand our minds, expand our hearts. So it has been our work as humanity that has helped us make this jump.
Yes.
Understand it. And just one quick thing back to the corpus colossum that you were talking about, Nancy. I was speaking to two ladies the other day who do absolutely beautiful work with horses that are traumatized, and they use craniosacral healing
Oh,
therapy that works on the corpus colossum in horses to
wow.
heal the trauma in horses.
Oh, wow.
Sorry, I threw you up. That was at a tangent going back, but yeah, isn't that interesting? Another connection. So
Yeah,
that is really interesting, because my very strong sense is that we're going to break the pattern. We're going to break through what we have never been able to break through before, to a whole different
right.
state of being.
Right. And we have to, right? It's like the train has left the station.
Yeah, yeah,
You know, it's already happening, even if you're not aware, and anybody can look up corpus callosum online and read, more about it or watch a YouTube video. But this train is already moving and picking up speed, and we're all going through it together. And many people will blissfully go through it and just isn't life great, or wow, I'm changing, or what's happening, how I look at things differently. And then there are going to be those who fight against it, who will kind of I'm shown, drop back into the emotional driver, because that's what we're used to. We're used to being so driven by the emotions that, yeah, we may have an expansion here, but our default is we may go back, well, what am I feeling about that? What am I feeling? And the feelings are just like very choppy waters right now, on the whole earth. So we're having to let go of one way of navigation. It's kind of like, going from smoke signals to, the telephone, to the cell phone, to telepathy. It's happening. So
yeah, yeah. And that's wonderful that you bring that up, because the energies geomagnetically, electromagnetically, are very jazzed up,
mm,
because we have a drop in the sun's and the earth's magnetic shield. Therefore, and also we're at peak of a solar cycle 25 early this year, so we're going to get a lot more solar flares, a lot more solar activity in general, and they kind of jazz our system up. So hence, for some people like myself and many others, it's very hard to sleep. With other people,
yes.
fatigue, etc. But there was a beautiful phrase that somebody I follow on Facebook, Jason Esters, used. He said, "Think of this as stem cells for your soul.
Mm,
Welcome it, welcome them in, however uncomfortable they are physically and
yeah.
unused to them that we are. Welcome them in as evolutionary ingredients." And that's something I've
Yes.
been talking about a lot too. So try not to go, resist,
Right.
welcome them in,
Yeah.
and try and be in a state of stillness, openness, ground and earth as often as you can,
Yes.
on the grass. So you're just really like a flower opening to whatever is coming
Yes.
in, because that is such a potentially auspicious conjunction between Jupiter and Uranus for our evolution.
Yes.
Don't miss the
Yeah.
boat. It's a beautiful opportunity for us.
It it is, yeah, it's so exciting. And I am literally going to be in the path of the solar eclipse. So I found out that my brother and sister-in-law were going, and then my parents were going, and it was like I'm inviting myself, and so we'll probably all be together, jam-packed in some parking lot somewhere because so many people are going to be going to that area. So, and yeah, and Arkansas is where I'm going to be. And in the ground is so many diamonds. They have Crater Diamond State Park where you could pay $15 and go in and dig for diamonds, and you get to keep everything you find. So I'm not only going to be on crystals and diamonds, but then under the solar, eclipse. And uh, it's just, yeah, it's exciting. But this is the one thing, if everyone in the world is listening to this right now and they're like, oh my gosh, what do I need to do? Do I need to meditate more? Do I need to make altars? Do I need to do this? The number one thing you need to do right now is do something different in your life.
That's Uranus.
Okay, because what they said to me once, Nancy, we need you to get out of the house because we're still post COVID, but we need you to get out of the house. Okay, what do I need to do? They said, we need you to go to do something really different. Okay. They said, we need you to go to a poetry slam. Now, so a poetry slam, right, is when someone's on the stage and they're talking. Now, I thought they wanted me to get up on the stage and do poetry. I'm like, that's like a really left turn for me, you know? And they said, oh, no, 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 you don't need to be up on the stage, but just be in the energy of it. Go get yourself a cup of coffee and sit at a table and just rather than, read a book or watch television or whatever, just go do something different. And it's so easy. They're saying, just turn left out of your driveway instead of the right, instead of turning right. And so that's right now is the number one thing. We want to stretch the neuroplasticity of our brain. We want our mind to be more open, more flexible, less rigid and limited. And just by saying, I'm going to drive home by the water, it's going to take me an extra 20 minutes, but I'm expanding the neuroplasticity of my brain. And I know this April is ginormous, but I'm seeing it go all the way at that. I'm not even going to call it an intensity because it's going to be a little feel good, you know. But until about the middle of June is what I'm hearing. And but then 25 and 26, it's going to keep shifting and changing and expanding. So we have stepped in the middle of it right now. It's
Wow.
exciting.
But this
Yeah.
is a big ignition point, essentially,
Yes.
for the Earth. And it's interesting you're talking about moving away from rigidity, because that again is Saturn, move towards Uranus, which is change, variety, do something different,
Mm.
step into
Mm.
what you have already outgrown.
Yes.
The big message with Uranus: do the new, step into your
Yes.
real sense of authenticity and unique essence that has been suppressed through society or habit or whatever. So it's so exciting,
Yes.
but it really does feel like it does feel like a trigger point or an ignition point for the whole big surge of humanity's evolution. That's what it feels like astrologically, and what you're saying
Yes.
spiritually and
Yeah.
energetically.
Yes. Yes. And it's almost like, and give each other grace
Yeah.
because we're all so um we're changing so rapidly. It's like don't hang them on the coat hook, just give each other some grace, or my sister calls it a hall pass, give them a hall pass. It's like, so they're going to have some bad days and they might need to clean up, a little bit of mess, but to give each other, the grace that is needed because we're all going through it. And I'm not saying abuse. I'm not saying hurting or harming. I'm just talking about, if someone gets triggered in a little way, just
Compassion. Have compassion.
exactly,
Yeah, yeah.
exactly.
Live from the heart. Live with love. Yeah,
Yeah,
yeah. Don't
yeah,
judge. We're moving away from judgment and that kind of polarity. So yeah,
yes,
open-hearted compassion, I think, is
yes,
where we're headed.
yeah,
Wow.
yeah,
And you
yeah.
also talked about more later in April. Nancy, I don't know if you want to talk about that because you're talking about um, plasma, new levels of plasma light codes coming in as well.
Oh, how could I forget that? Well, because there's so much happening, right? There's so much happening. So you have this diamond, just like a diamond can cut crystals, right? And make them into shapes or gems. And diamonds can cut diamonds and make these beautiful shapes. But so it's a very hard gem. So it's like that in the human energy field. It's like, let's cut the BS. That's what I heard. It's cutting the BS. And so, in the ways that the blue light, has prepared us all these years to drop a lot of illusion, this is like the exclamation point at the end of the sentence. It's like we've been being prepared, it's like the turkey being basted, and now it's time to go into the oven. And so this diamond that's coming in has these silver, it's this photonic light. Well, all of it's, to me, when I think of photonic light, it's like a tear that comes down your cheek. It's not just like a glass of water droplet. It's not that. A tear has so much in it. And that's what these droplets are like. Now, these droplets are coming through right now. I mean, they're especially heading towards March 15th, but they're coming in and they've explained it like it's going to land on the skin to see if you have a reaction to it. So it's almost like if they're going to give you a shot, like sometimes they'll prick the skin to make sure you're not allergic to whatever they're going to give you an injection about. And so this will happen. And inside that those photonic light codes is wisdom that goes beyond a wiseness that we ever knew was possible, and the knowledge connected to the galactic center. It's almost like we're more tapped in, or even tapped in at all, in a way of having almost a direct access. Does that make sense? Like a direct access
Absolutely. Yeah,
to that
absolutely.
knowledge.
Because, again, what's interesting, all of this year and all of next year is the dwarf planet Vada is exactly conjunct the galactic center, and Neptune is squaring them. Now, Neptune is source, really. It's unconditional love. It's a connection to oneness. It's healing energy. It's ethereal. It's beautiful. But Vada, in the creation myth, along with her husband Manwë, they were said to create the universe. And her role, Vada's role,
Okay.
was to place the sun and the moon and the stars in the heavens and set them on their course. So they were part of the original creation myth, which even Tolkien writes about in his book Silmarillion. So this is massively ancient wisdom between
Mhm.
Vada, linked to
Yes.
and Neptune. This is way back, way back, way back. And of course, all of that knowledge is held in the water because some
Mhm.
of the water on Earth is up to 4.5 billion years old. And the
Mhm.
knowledge is still held there. It's never left, it's never gone.
Right. Right.
And Neptune is water as well, it's linked to water.
Yes.
Neptune is
Well,
Lord of the
and
Seas.
that that has been coming to the earth forever. We are surrounded by it. When we're swimming in the water, we're surrounded, we're being bathed in that knowledge. But if all our rooms are closed, we don't have access, we don't have a way that we can access that wisdom, it can just be right up under our nose and we can't access it. That's what's happening now, is my sense is that we're going to have finally get to open our front door and bring the package in. And that's really exciting.
Well, and Nancy, as a result of this, particularly what's happening in late April, are you seeing more connection with our galactic families, reconnection with our galactic families?
Yes, I have to say yes. And I know that there's a lot of people that they love the star beings and everything. I'm really a very earth kind of person. And it's like watching Star Trek, on television can feel so kind of out there. Well, that was fun. Now let me get back to work. That's probably, very much my Capricorn side. But but I have to admit it, it's happening. It's just happening. I might as well expand the neuroplasticity of my mind because the galactic influence is coming in so strongly to where one moment, we might be afraid of it, and the next moment it's like, oh, there's our family, there's our ancestors, there's, you know, and yeah, that could take another 30 years, for us to fully realize that. But oh no, it's happening, Pam. As I kick the dirt, I'm like, wow, I'm going to have to really open my mind for this.
Oh, I think you're ahead of the rest of the pack, Nancy, actually. So you're going to have you're our John the Baptist with this. You're going to have the foreknowledge. So this is just immensely exciting. And from my point of view, that's what I'd encourage people to feel. Feel the excitement. Just, as long as you can drop into stillness, bare feet on the grass, ground yourself so you've got an anchor in yourself. Feel the excitement, but let the anchor and the center come from yourself, come from your heart. Don't scatter your energy on big scary things everywhere. Just
Right.
forget all
Right.
that because you're leaking power. Focus on this amazing, once in many lifetimes opportunity, if ever. Actually, I think this
Yes.
is completely unique to
Yes.
really make that jump beyond everything we've ever known in all of our lifetimes. Immense, Nancy.
It, we don't have words
No.
to describe it in our human language.
And then
Maybe,
society is
yeah.
really going to change in unimaginable ways, isn't it?
Yes. Yes. Absolutely. And I did just want to mention again, because the blue light just really kind of flooding into this conversation. The blue light's never going away. It's like you just had that great time with the blue surge and it just took you to another level. And that is not finished. That continues. But the blue star beings just came in to show me an image of it's like, we're going through the equinox, which will be enormous balancing. And then, the solar eclipse and that surge to the corpus callosum. And then at the end, that wisdom and coming in. And so we're going to be shedding a lot. So the blue light is helping with that. But they do show the blue light really picking up again in May and June. I haven't looked beyond that, but they're showing me like the janitor at the school. They just come behind and they're sweeping, and they're helping to kind of clear out and calm things. So they've really uh, just wanted to express of the angelic realm, of the ascended masters realm, our loved ones who are on the other side, the star beings, the nature spirits. Everybody is rooting for us right now, and as humans, oh my gosh, I sometimes I try to imagine what we must look like to them, but we are getting it a lot more. I just want to express that to all of humanity. You are getting it a lot more than you think you are. Yeah.
Yeah, that is just beautiful, Nancy. And, a beautiful place to end, really, unless you've got anything else that you feel is important to share with us, or
No. No.
that's a beautiful closure. I mean, this has been so exciting. I love my conversations with you. Always feels like we're going over the jumps and over the jumps, and it's just fabulous. And it really helps people to trust that sense of expansion in our consciousness. Trust
Yes.
trust the invisible, as I say so often. We have always created from the invisible.
Trust the invisible. Trust the invisible. I did hear someone talking the other day. It might have been Greg Braden or someone, but they said what is conscious to what we can see is 10% of what's available to us. The other 90% is invisible.
Yeah,
We
yeah.
might as well make peace with it. But Pam, you're like a sister from another mother to me. It's like
Yeah, yeah.
we, your frequency feels like mine. It just feels like, yeah. So I just love to be in the world at this time with you, helping to uplift ourselves and humanity. And so, and your Sunday meditations, I watch them clairvoyantly, and I will tell you, last Sunday, the the light was so blinding and so encompassing in the world. So you are
Oh,
encouraging that is really helping a lot.
oh, bless you. It was just such a simple idea, really, but people are reporting back, this incredible spreading of light that gets stronger and bigger across the globe. And other people are seeing that as we set off, the animals are coming with us, of all kinds.
Yes, yes,
And moving across rivers and mountains, and we're gathering
yes,
forth. And she described it, this particular lady, like an army of love on the move, an army
yes,
of love on the move. And she said
yes,
she was just weeping through the whole meditation. It was so profoundly loving, and
yes.
it's like a tsunami of love. And how easy is that? 15 minutes a week. Well, well, you teach.
Exactly, exactly. Well, and I didn't even talk about the mountains and I didn't talk about the animals, so we'll definitely have to do this again sometime.
Beautiful, Nancy. You are a joy to share with, and thank goodness you are in the world right now to help to guide us. Love this
Thank you.
conversation. God bless you, Nancy.
Thank
Thank
you.
you a
Thank you.
millionfold, and
Mhm.
love to everybody out there. Thank you so much for listening. Lots of love. Bye for now.